Hello and welcome to another podcast edition or live stream edition of Yankees Content Central. And today we will be recapping what was discussed yesterday or not yesterday, a couple hours ago on Yankees Hot Stove on Yes Network. So we're going to go over that and some other things that were floated around there. Floated around, I don't want to say rumors on Twitter. Well, I'll say rumors on Twitter. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them are from SMY. Because they have their version, I guess, of Hot Stove. I think they call it like Baseball Night in America. I'll tune in. I just saw something kind of interesting floating around on X right before I uh, came on air. So we're gonna get started with that right now. So first, there were a couple interesting things said on Hot Stove. They started with talking about Goldschmidt, all things we know, leader in the clubhouse. He really wants to be here. I watched as much as the press conferences I caught between, things I had going on today. I think he really does want to be here. It seems like he does. I That's the vibe I get. I know he had other offers from other teams that were higher that he could have gone there and probably had a better time there. But he wants to win, and he kind of said that was the biggest thing, was he wanted to have the opportunity to win, and he felt that New York gave that to him in the best way possible. So Goldschmidt, welcome. Right now they have him on MLB.com as number 46, which is Andy Pettit's number, which is retired. So I don't know if that's going to get changed or they're unretiring Andy's number, which is kind of sad, but we'll see. Um, Michael K and Jack Curry were saying how they think the Yankees prefer to have Jazz at second. This has been kind of the sentiment shared since the winter meetings of the Yankees want to kind of get people back in place, right? The second Soto left, they want to get Judge back in right. Dominguez is going to play center. That's his natural position. Bellinger can play anywhere in outfield. He actually came up his first start in the major leagues for the Dodgers back in 2016 or 17 was in left field. So they're grooming him to play left field. I think I have that somewhere else. If I don't, well, there we go. They're grooming him to play left field, which I think is perfect. I'll pull up what I think the lineup looks like as currently constructed. Um, with DJ, because they keep mentioning DJ's name, as I'll get to in a second. I think they'd rather have him at second because his arm is stronger at second to throw from cutoff from right field, and Judge is a terrific right fielder. That shores up your infield defense. Now, we don't know what's going on with third. Right now, third's a black hole. Now, they're talking LeMahieu, they're talking Cabrera. Curry did say, I don't have it here, he did say that he thinks the Yankees are looking to add another infielder. He didn't name names. He has said in the past that Arenado's kind of out. They don't love Bregman at Yankee Stadium. You do the deep dive in Bregman's numbers at Yankee Stadium. Aside from a couple of bombs over the years, he's been dreadful at Yankee Stadium. And that's because he's super pull happy. That's why Houston fit him so well, because of the Crawford boxes. And what scares me is how well Boston fits his swing with the monster. So my hope is that he goes to Detroit, or better yet, the Cubs, who are both in on him. But I guess Detroit and Boston are like the favorites. I don't know. I don't think Boston's spending that money, but who am I to? I'm not a Boston beat reporter. So Curry, this is what I mentioned, said Dominguez in center, Belly in left, Jazz at second. That'd be perfect, right? Because now you're more defensively aligned, right? That's better. That's better defensively. You're a better team because you have players playing in their natural positions. Dominguez is a natural center fielder. Bellinger can really play anywhere. And Jazz is a natural shortstop, natural second baseman. But on the infield, the majority of his reps came from second base. That is where he is the most comfortable on the infield. Michael Kay went on to say DJ LeMahieu or Cabrera at third. I get Bubba Crosby vibes. Don't really know what that means. It's just kind of in the tweet. I really think they're going to add someone, whether it's now. I really don't think that Brian Cashman should wait till the trade deadline. I don't. You need to do it now. I don't think it's going to be Bregman. I've seen Luis Ariza's name. I think Hassan Kim would be good. if you get him for second and then you keep Jazz at third, but they're saying Jazz at second, so maybe Kim's out now. Maybe they had that conversation. Arise did play third when he was a Twin, so I don't know if that's an option. I've seen that floated around, but who knows? Obviously, Arenado's probably the most common option. Both them, Joel Sherman of the Post, kind of squashed that and was like, "Yeah, that's not happening." And it's like, okay, but we still need someone, and Arenado's bats on the decline, but third base are fantastic, and he might have a good year at Yankee Stadium, and if you want to say the same for Bellinger and Goldschmidt, you got to say the same for him. You were playing on a team that sucked last year. They did not want to win. They did not care about winning in St. Louis. They had a couple hot stretches throughout the year. They were not trying, and it was obvious in the way they played. I am a diehard Yankees fan, but if the Yankees are off, I do watch other games. I don't. I'm a baseball fan as well. I will watch Cardinals games. I will watch Cubs games. There are days, especially I'd say mid-August, where I have the Yankees on my main TV and four other games on my laptop with no sound, just to have something on. I I know what it was like in Chicago and in St. Louis, and they were not trying to win. The Yankees tried every single day, most days, to win. Those teams didn't. And it was very clear in the way they played and the way they carried themselves on the field and in the clubhouse. It was very obvious that they were there because it's 162 and they just want to get it over with. It was so clear. It was clear when we went to Chicago. It was clear when St. Louis came to the stadium and they were pretty much giving us a game and our bullpen imploded and Soto couldn't field a fucking fly ball, which we'll get to him in a minute. Because Andy Martino on Baseball Night in
You're a much better
America, I
team
think
without
is what
Juan Soto
SNY
if you're the
calls it.
Yankees.
Well, how?
Because
Hold on. Oh, let me pause this. Sorry. Was talking on Baseball Night in America with Salicata, and I don't know who that is in the middle. So Salicata, for those who don't know, is a mid-morning host on WFAN. Um, he is one of the most annoying people I've ever heard in my entire life. He is the reason I stopped listening to the mid-morning show because his takes are just so obnoxiously annoying and preposterous. Now, he was correct about, Soto going to Queens and all that stuff, which I'm kind of over at this point. Like he went for the money and we all know that. But I thought this was an interesting take by the guys on this panel. And what they had to say overall with the Yankees
you're a
winning
much
this
better team without
offseason
Juan
after
Soto
losing
if you're the
Soto.
Yankees.
Well, how?
Because you brought
Who they added
you built a
offensively?
team
So
instead
that's
of
Andy
one
Martino.
expensive guy.
Well-
Now that's not a knock on the Mets signing Soto because that's a whole different calculation for them. But the Yankees have spread that around and they're better than they were in October.
They lost Torres and Soto, and they added Goldschmidt and Bellinger in the lineup.
First of
that
all,
to me is a major.
don't overreact to them losing Gleyber Torres. That might
They brought in Devin Williams.
I'm talking about offensively. Yeah, okay. Well, they lost Clay Holmes, who was an all-star closer for
That's
them.
an upgrade.
Clay Holmes sucked. So this is defensive Met fan, and now I'm gonna go on the attack. I did watch this before coming on air. This is Met fan defensive. We just got Clay Holmes. I'm gonna defend him. Clay Holmes sucked. I don't care what the All Stars said. I don't care they had 2 All Stars. I don't care what the ERA was. Clay Holmes sucked. From the first outing in Houston where he got bailed out by I think the runner was out at home plate, but I thought they were overturning that. From the first play at home plate in Houston to his last appearance in the playoffs in the World Series, he was awful this year. Awful. Led the MLB in blown saves. Couldn't close a door. Couldn't strike me out. He was awful. There were outings this year where it was just mind-boggling bad, and then, of course, there were good ones. I'm not gonna sit here and say every outing was a waking nightmare. There were some good ones. There was the great one in Baltimore. There was the really good one in Boston in that crazy extra inning game. That was a good outing. And then when they removed him from the closer role, for the exception of the Seattle game, he was actually not bad, in the 8th inning. in the 7th inning, 6th inning. He was even better in the 6th and 5th inning than he was in the 7th or 8th and the 9th. But to sit there and say, oh, they lost an all-star closer and replaced him with a better all-star closer who has better numbers. If you sat here and you know what? I'll pull it up just to prove Sal wrong. So if someone wants to put this tomorrow, I really don't care. I'm going to go to Savant and I'll share my screen once I get this up. Career-wise, I'm not going to do the year. I'm going to do the career. They've been both up, I think, for sort of the same amount of time. Let me share my screen here. This one. Share. Share. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. If we see this, yeah. WAR will tell it all. Win-loss, ERA, ERA plus, strikeouts, strikeout percentage, walk, based on ball percentage. They're kind of in the same place. Devin Williams also has a smaller sample size of innings pitched in his career. They both have the same amount of all-stars, and one has 2 Mariano Rivera, or I think their league is Trevor Hoffman, I don't know, or Mariano Rivera relief pitcher. Okay, so Clay Holmes has been up 1 more year than, so it is kind of the same amount of time. In fact, actually, this statistic favors Holmes, and you see that the stats are still better between Holmes. I don't know how to get back between Holmes and the other one. You see the stats are still better. So that's just asinine from Sal, which is shocking, right? If you listen to
You're a much better
WFAN
team
on the
without Juan
mid-mornings,
Soto if you're the Yankees.
Well,
you're in
how?
for one when he
Williams.
starts.
I'm talking about offensively. Yeah, okay, well, they lost Clay Holmes, who was an all-star closer for
That's
them.
an upgrade.
No, okay, but is it as good an upgrade as it is the loss that they take in that lineup? And again, I'm not trying to minimize the Yankees offseason.
And Fried.
I just feel like their starting rotation should be better, but it was pretty good last year.
How should their starting rotation should be better? Look, I pause it on. They have the best starting rotation in the American League. I don't want to say baseball. I'm not going to get cocky. They probably have one of, if not the best starting rotations. They have the best pitching staff in Major League Baseball. That I can say. Pitching staff as a whole, starting rotation and bullpen best in baseball. That I think. Because the Dodger pitching staff is hurt all the time. That's something we're not taking into account. Otani isn't the best pitcher. He's not Cy Young, all right? He's a very good hitter. And he actually pitches pretty well. He's a good pitcher. Yamamoto's a good pitcher. Glasnow's always hurt, so you can't go off that, or else he'd be like a Cy Young winner every year. But he's always on the IL. Kershaw's not signed, so I'm not going to go off of him. Who knows where Sasaki's going? Everyone says it's a foregone conclusion, except for Sasaki and his agent. They're like, hold on a minute. If it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to the West Coast, why is he taking meetings? And why is the final 7 teams, I get 3 of them are on the West Coast. One of them's the Cubs, and 2 of them are the 2 New York teams. Right? That's 3. So there's 6 final teams. Right? It's the Cubs, it's the Yankees, it's the Mets, it's the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. Maybe the Giants. Those are the final 6 for Sasaki right now. So why are the Dodgers the foregone conclusion to get him? Anything could happen. If we're saying this for Arenado, one phone call could change everything. If he's sending teams home for homework, his favorite 2 players as a kid played for the Yankees, that might count for something. I'm not going to get my hopes up that we're getting him. Well, there's a shot. And when there's a will, there's a way. So this is complete bullshit by Sal that the Yankees starting rotation's bad. You have Garrett Cole, who's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Max Fried, who is probably the best lefty pitcher in Major League Baseball. You have Luis Gil, the reigning American League Rookie of the Year. Carlos Rodon, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball before getting hurt and then having a very good bounce back year that he had 3 rough starts that elevated that ERA. And Clark Schmidt, who is proving himself as a very good starter in baseball. Plus, you have Will Warren, who was awful last year, and I'll show his stats in a minute to prove that. He was god-awful last year, but he can improve. And then you have Marcus Stroman, who are trying to move anyway. And you know what? If they don't move him, I didn't think of this until today. If they don't move Stroman and maybe they give him, a start or 2 here and there, he might actually fare better because the defense is better for him, is better suited. If you look at some of his starts by FIP percentage, The Yankees defensively were at their worst when Stroman was on the mound, and Clay as well. But when Stroman was on the mound, they were defensively at their worst. Now, that's for one or two reasons. One, it's because he gives up a lot of ground balls, so people are fielding. Or two, they're just not sharp. And it was obvious. There were games that I can recollect sitting here where it's like they really screwed him in that game defensively, and Nestor too. They screwed Nestor defensively royally in a couple of games I remember. Um, so that's definitely a fact that they were worse defensively depending on who the pitcher was. That scares me a little bit with Freed because he is a high contact pitcher as well, a lot of ground balls. He's also a lefty, so that park factor with the lefty plays better in Yankee Stadium, and they're a better defensive team this season. You don't have Soto in right field, who is a black hole. You don't have Torres at second, who Marcus Stroman at one point in the year literally had to turn around and yell at, have some fucking intensity, and make a play. Now it was a hard play for Torres to make, but you're standing on the mound, you're crumbling, and you get the ground ball you need, and you can't do it. You turn around and scream to have some fucking intensity, and to the point where Judge had to pull him aside. That's the kind of it's Stroman, but that's the kind of attitude I want. Where you have a teammate yelling at another teammate. I think that's fun. Because Boone doesn't have to do it then, because Boone can't have confrontation. We know this. I'm not going to sit here and talk about Boone's managing style because you'll never shut me up. That's my podcast. Boone is a very smart baseball mind. He knows what he's doing, believe it or not. He cannot manage young kids. He is a very good veteran manager. That is why I love the Goldschmidt move. That's why I love the Fried move. That's why I love the Bellinger move. Because all three of those guys are more veteran players. I would welcome Arenado for that reason of he's not a rookie, he's a veteran. Because Boone could be less hands off with them. And those are guys that can, Arenado could say something to Volpe. Rice Goldschmidt could say something to Rice. You have that now. Your outfield, you got Judge and Bellinger could say something to Mingus. And obviously the starting rotation, Cole's always been very good with handling, pitchers coming up through the system in the starting rotation. Cole's essentially a second pitching coach, as we see during games, because yes, always puts the camera on the dugout to show that. And I think that's very cool. And I like that as a team building environment. But to say the Yankees have gotten worse is incorrect. It's just wrong. They've gotten better. Does hurting Juan Soto sting? Losing Juan Soto sting? Yes. But you can't sit there and tell me, and I'm going to get backlash for saying this. Cody Bellinger has the potential, because of the way he plays defense and the way he gets on and the way he can hit in Yankee Stadium, to fill a lot of that void. Not the whole void, because you're always going to have room to fill it. Cody Bellinger is one of the best clutch hitters, and there's a stat that proves that, in all of Major League Baseball. He is a fantastic clutch hitter. He's a guy that if you're in the bottom of the ninth, the Yankees haven't had a walk-off home run since 2022 when Judge hit 60 and G hit the grand slam off the Pirates. That was the last Yankee walk-off home run. We haven't had one in 2 seasons. That's pathetic for the Bronx Bombers and every other team, by the way, in Major League Baseball has had at least one in that span, including the historically bad Chicago White Sox did have one this past season. But, Bellinger's a guy that you have, guy at second and third, one man out, tying run on third in the bottom of the ninth inning against, Chapman or, Mason Miller or like a really good pitcher. He's a guy I would trust at the plate. As much as I love Aaron Judge, I don't know how much I trust Judge. I really don't. I mean, if he's on one of his heaters, there is no stopping him. You could have the best pitcher in baseball pitch to him. The best pitcher in baseball history of all time pitch to him. There is no stopping Judge when he's on his heater. But if it's a day that he's like 1 for 4 with an infield single, I don't trust Judge at the plate. I trust Stanton. I trust Bellinger. It's not that I don't hate Judge, and he could get better at quote unquote clutch hitting, and he is a clutch hitter. But in certain situations, I'd rather certain people. And in that situation, I'd rather have Bellinger. I want a guy that can get the ball in the air. You know, AJ Przinsky, I listen to a lot of things throughout the course of the day while working and uh, everything I do on foul territory during right after Soto side. And they're talking about, the contract and everything. He's like, I'm sorry, that's outrageous. If Judge is up to bat in a big spot, I'll turn the TV on and to watch that at bat. If Otani's up to bat in a big spot, or Mookie or Freddie, I agree, I would do the same. The Yankees are over how many times last spring? The Yankees end at 10:05. I put on the Dodger game or the Giant game or a West Coast game of some kind just to have on because I'm a baseball fan, as I mentioned before. But you tune into those big spots. And he goes, I've never once tuned into a game to watch Juan Soto. What am I gonna do? Watch him walk? And that's the God's honest truth. I'm not knocking him. And obviously I'd feel different if he was still on the team. But you know, he's not, he had that clutch home run against Cleveland that, Yankee fans will always have a tainted memory because he walked. It was still a fantastic home run, but Yankee fans will always have a tainted memory because he walked. And that's just life, I guess. So, I mean, that's life. So let's hear what else they have to say because there's more.
I feel like that one
Best part's yet
Bregman
to
to me
come.
would complete the offseason. Good defensive guy, solid bat. Maybe they're not going to do that, but that's
Bregman would
I would be
suck
very
at Yankee
surprised if
Stadium.
Bregman went to the Yankees.
Aren't they better fundamentally now? I mean, everybody was making a big deal after that fifth inning in the World Series
Thank
about
you.
fundamentals, and I think they've taken some steps. They're the run prevention Yankees in some way.
Thank you for saying that because you just reminded me the reason that Nestor Cortes, who's now gone by the way, was in a position to throw that pitch to Freeman in Game 1 was because Juan Soto couldn't get to a ball because he's not fast enough, and because Gleyber Torres couldn't cover second properly because he's not fundamentally sound enough, and those guys are gone. So there we.
So I never thought of that before. And when you look back at the pitch that was thrown in that situation, it kind of makes a lot of sense that Nestor knew he had to get a ball in the air because there's a good chance of someone booting it. Obviously, it went in the air all right. All right, so this is from MLBTradeRumors.com, kind of confirmed by Curry today. The Yankees have interest in Andrew Chafin and Tim Hill. Andrew Chafin, they've liked for a while. He was on the Tigers. He was also on the Rangers. More on that here. Chafin's 34. He's kind of been around the block a while. He's actually a very good pitcher, and he'd be a very good Matt Blake candidate. The last time the Yankees saw him was at Yankee Stadium. He gave up back-to-back jacks to Soto and Judge. In an eventual Yankee win. That was a game Clay walked the tightrope and Gleyber couldn't field the ground ball and somehow miraculously did it. Once again, goes back to the fundamentals and, people who are gone causing almost another Yankee loss. I don't know if I want Hill. The reason I'd rather Tim Hill, I wouldn't be mad at Chafin because I've seen what he could do when he's at his best. He's great. I've seen Chafin before. He's someone who's kind of been around. You know him. You kind of know what you're gonna get. He is very much so a what you see is what you get kind of pitcher. When he comes in, and that's a blessing and a curse. You know what you're gonna get with Andrew Chafin. I would rather Tim Hill because we've seen him in New York. He knows the people, he knows the staff, and he had success in the regular and postseason. He had very good success with the Yankees, and he kind of liked being here. That's another thing. I like that the Yankees have kind of made this a priority since Soto left, and you hear Cashman kind of drop little nuggets in press conferences and players that are being interviewed by the media, because you heard it today during the Goldschmidt one, about them wanting to be here. And Goldschmidt wants to be here. Bellinger, we know, wants to be here and has wanted to be here for quite some time and would have been here last offseason had the Yankees not signed Verdugo or traded for Verdugo. I think the Yankees would have signed Bellinger last offseason had they not gone for Verdugo. And I think that would have made the Yankees better defensively for sure and offensively because Verdugo was nothing. Hell, I mean, seriously, Verdugo was nothing. He was awful. there's another guy that we kind of need to talk about with the offense. I brought him up the other day. The defense is fantastic. The offense needs to kind of turn around here. It's Anthony Volpe. Play 160 games this season. Another below average season. The power's gone. He got on base a little bit more. The on base percentage was up, but the batting average was lower. Here's what I want. I don't want him leading off ever. I want him cooking down in the bottom of that lineup, 7, 8, or 9. Put him anywhere down there, and let him figure it out. Give him a day off every couple of weeks. Every 2 weeks, give him a day. You let Cabrera play. It's short. They need to keep Cabrera on this team. Peraza's probably getting traded. Just forewarning for you. If you didn't watch Hot Stove tonight, they didn't mention Peraza's name once. Well, here's a little tidbit. He's out of options. So that either tells me that they're trading him, which he might be a good nugget to be like, hey, we need to get rid of Stroman. We'll give you Peraza too. Have fun. I mean, they've wasted his career. People want to talk about prospect hugging with Brian Cashman. That's a prospect hug. Peraza's been raced well before Volpe, and they did not give him a run. They gave Volpe what I call Prince Volpe treatment, which is ultimate run at no risk, and that's what they need to give to Dominguez. If they don't, I'll be pissed because I think Dominguez has a higher upside than Volpe offensively. Now, defensively, Volpe is a stud defensively. Do I think he can find it offensively? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think he's going to be better. He got better this season. His batting average went up 40 points, 30 points. It was 211 in 2023. It went to 243. It went up 40 points. It went up 32 points. That's a lot. That's a big jump from where he was. Now the power went down. What I liked, though, is his approach in the postseason, and if he could carry that through the regular season and, get a day off every couple of weeks. He's going to start out next season, the first 3 weeks. Probably the first 3 weeks, he's going to be pretty much impossible to get out. Then Boone's going to fuck it up and not give him a day off. And then all of a sudden, he's not going to be able to hit anymore, and it's going to be like, well, what the hell happened? Well, because he needs a mental health day every once in a while. Not just the regular day off. He needs a mental health day. And this is proven. I'm going to pull this up. This is not my tweet. This is from John Boy. But a lot of good content there. Not that I'm promote. Well, I'll promote them because, I got a lot of my information from them. This is a Volpe chart, I guess. Let me do this. So, Volpe, first 15 games of the season, 382 batting average. Rest of the first half, 223. Then he had 4 days off. Came back, 373. The on-base percentage goes up. The on-base percentage actually this season wasn't... he just never walked. The first 14 days after the All-Star break, he was on fire, 373. The rest of the second half, he was dreadful, and that's a common theme over the past, since he's been up. He's been dreadful. Postseason, he was actually very good in the playoffs. He took his base. The on-base percentage was the highest it's been since the first 15 games of the second half. Of the season. The on-base percentage was very high. He was an on-base. Oh, I'm sorry about this. He was an on-base machine. I apologize for the way I'll go over it again. Let me zoom in. Is that a little bit better? Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Let me fix the design. Still getting used to. I changed streaming apps the other day because this one's like a lot better for what I need. Still trying to get used to things, so my apologies here. But the first 15 games of the season, as you see, the batting average is higher when he has days off. And this is a common theme. I'm not asking for him to bat 300. But, over a 20-something game sample size. He's batting 286. I get there were days off in the midst of it. He got on base almost every postseason. I think almost every postseason game he got on base. If he can be that Anthony Volpe that is getting on base at a 407 clip, which is a 40% of the time he's getting on base, he's your leadoff hitter. He solves leadoff. Now, I don't think this is legit. Now, if you give him a day every once in a while, you lead off Judge, Judge knows how to make the adjustment. This is a big difference, and you see it. You can see right where I'm saying OBP, on base percentage. When he gets days off, his on base percentage is very high. His batting average is higher. Everything's higher. He's a better player when he gets days off. Now, I don't know who needs to yell this at Aaron Boone. They'd be like, hey, look at this. Like, this is your job to know this stuff. I get how much of an asset he is defensively. But let's be real here. If you give him, if you give him 12 to 15 games a year, 12 to 15 games a year are not being decided on Anthony Volpe being at shortstop, because Cabrera made very good plays at shortstop. Let's be real. There were a couple games there where Cabrera was in at short and he made very good plays. So let's call a spade. All right. It's not a game breaker to not have him at short. It actually probably benefits you more to not have him at short for a day, so he's better on both ends of the spectrum and not just one. Just a hunch, maybe Boone, listens. So this is what the current Yankee lineup looks like. Volpe, what I think it'll look like: Volpe, Bellinger, Judge, Stanton, Goldschmidt, Jazz, Dominguez, as well as Cabrera. Here's one with DJ. It's the same, just DJ in at third and batting ninth. I think it's pretty safe to say if they don't trade for someone within the next few weeks, I think it's probably DJ's job to lose in spring, which is kind of unfortunate. And if he does, then I think at that point they try and trade for someone in spring training, which is a double-edged sword, because, you might have to then give up a king's ransom, just like you would at the trade deadline, which is why I don't want them waiting till the deadline. We saw them wait till the deadline last season, and third base was a black hole until Jazz got here. It didn't get much, much, much better. It got better. But it was a black hole for most of the year. And, you always hear Cashman say it takes two to tango. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get to spring training. And, LeMahieu could foul another pitch off his shin or get hit in the hand or could just be plain flat out old in spring and not be able to move, clog up the base paths, and just be awful. That doesn't mean another team's going to want to trade with you. I mean, maybe St. Louis wants to get rid of Arenado, but guess what? They're going to be holding all the cards in their deck because you're the one who needs them urgently. You're going to be paying more. So I think the easiest thing for the Yankees to do right now is to figure out who's playing third. Now, that might be, let's sit back and relax. That could be, let's sit back and relax, sign a reliever, do a couple little mini moves like they did the little outfielder move, which makes me think they're moving Grisham as well, because that he's essentially Trent Grisham that can play everywhere at a high level in the outfield, not just center field. That kid from the Cubs, but he is always hurt. But he wants to be here, I think. I would try and fix this lineup. Excuse me. That would be my next thing. Third base needs to be fixed. Here's the starting rotation. So you have Cole, Fried, Heel, Rodon, Schmidt. Will Warren and Marcus Stroman are your extras. Someone's getting moved. I think Stroman's gone. The way he's speaking on social media, the way people are talking about it around the Yankees, he's probably gone. I know people saw a report that the Yankees offered him for Arenado or called up the Cubs. That apparently wasn't true. It might have been that the Cubs called the Yankees, and the Yankees are like, "We'll give you Stroman," and they're like, "No." I could see that happening, but who knows? And here's the current say of the bullpen: 8 relievers, no lefties. These two, Clayton Beeter and Scott F. Ross, are currently in AAA. Or Clayton Beeter was on the IL for most of last year. The glimpses we saw of him were bad, but Boone doesn't know how to manage young pitchers in the bullpen. So you know, I think this bullpen's very good, especially when Loizaga comes back. It's going to be one of the better bullpens in baseball because of the swing and miss ability that Williams, Weaver, and Cruz and Loizaga has some overtime. There are very good. Beater, very good swing and miss. The others are more contact. Hamilton worries me as the age gets up there. But I haven't seen enough of F. Ross and Beater to make a predetermined decision. Hamilton's getting older. He's starting to worry me. Everyone else I feel comfortable with, for the exception of Loizaga, because of the injury history. Just to recap, this was Devin Williams' 2024 season. So for Sal to say, if you were here, we watched the SMY segment with Sal Licata pretty much saying the Yankees offseason, was not good because they didn't get Juan Soto, which is just complete other trash. Because I think the Yankees are better without Juan Soto, not because I'm salty that we didn't get Juan Soto, which I am. And that's not on the Yankees. That's not on Brian Cashman. That's not on Hal Steinbrenner. That is solely on Scott Boras and Juan Soto wanting the most money. They went to the team that had the most money and gave $1 million for his mom to go clothing shopping. If this guy wanted the most money, it was kind of clear where he was going. So I'll blame the Yankees for not getting Soto. It doesn't mean they can't be mad, especially that where he went. But to compare Clay Holmes to this, and I don't have a Clay Holmes graphic because I didn't make it because he was gone, and I don't like him. Devin Williams, an all-star. He's awesome. Fernando Cruz, the ERA's high. Everything else is great. The walks need to come down. Everything else is great except for the ERA, the home runs, and the walks. Once all that comes down, he was also in Great American Small Park, and his ERA would have been better according to Statcast if he had pitched his games in Yankee Stadium. It's a fact. Goldschmidt, he would have been a better player had he played the games that the Cardinals played at home. If he had played those games in Yankee Stadium, according to Statcast, he would have been better. Same with Bellinger. So the Yankees have made strategic moves this offseason to get them into a position where they're content with competing. They need to make one more big move, and that is to go out and get a bat. Whether they trade for Arenado, whether they bite the bullet and sign Bregman, which I don't think Bregman, number one, I don't think he's coming to the Yankees. And number two, he does not sign until Suzaki's signed. I don't think Bregman signs until Roki Sasaki signs. And that is because of the international bonus money that teams will lose if they sign Bregman. And all the teams, for the exception of Detroit, that are in on Bregman are all in on Sasaki. I think the Red Sox met with them. Oh, wait, no. The Red Sox were... No, that's right. The Red Sox are not. The Red Sox were denied him being with Sasaki per the Red Sox. The Red Sox front office, Craig Bigelow, I think his name is, their GM or baseball op guy, I don't know, their Cashman, spoke to the media. The 2 days ago, he met the media, and he said that they were denied a meeting. Sasaki's agent Wolf denied them of a meeting, and I guess he doesn't want to go to Boston. Which, hey, great, keep him out of the division. That'd be awesome. If he goes to the Padres, if he goes to the Dodgers, I'll be pissed. If he goes to the Mets, I'll be even more mad because that makes those two teams better. If he goes to San Diego, have fun. I'll be pissed, but it's not going to affect me in an earth-shattering way. I think the Yankees are the only American League team in on them, which is a big deal. I mean, obviously, the Rangers probably met with them. I know they met with them. I don't know why Kansas City didn't. He would have been a great fit there. This is also not Royals Content Central. This is Yankees Content Central. I think it's a great thing that the Yankees are the only team in the American League that's in on Sasaki. That Sasaki has left and narrowed down on his list. That actually makes the Yankees' case more compelling, come to think of it. Because you could say, hey, you go to the Dodgers. You're the third best Asian pitcher, Japanese pitcher on their team. And that sounds worse than I mean it. He's the third best. Because Otani's probably better than them because he's proven. Or he's proven to have experience in the major leagues to say he would be better than Sasaki is at this point. Now, Sasaki can come out and just pitch like Imanaga for the first month, and that goes to hell right quick. And Yamamoto's proven from his one season to be an epic pitcher. He's awesome. Losing Yamamoto, I mean, if it didn't hurt when we lost him, because I really thought we were going to get him, it hurt in the World Series. It sure shit hurt in the World Series that we lost him. In that one game, where the one game lost, so whatever. So no one on the Yankees have had a hit off of Yamamoto, so that's great. Hopefully the Dodgers don't get back to the World Series, but the American League's wide open. The Yankees are far and away better than any other American League team. The pitching staff is probably one of the best in baseball, all around. The rotation's definitely the best in the American League, if not one of the best in baseball. Probably second to the Dodgers. Second or third to the Dodgers and Phillies. They're right up there. Lineup, not great yet. You can't go into the season with LeMahieu or Cabrera in the starting lineup unless there's an injury. If there's an injury to someone, then yes, it's a different story. But if you're going to sit there and be Brian Cashman right now and be like, all right, we're done. We have LeMahieu. We're paying him anyway. No, that's bull. You can't do that. If your motto here is World Series or bust, we want to get back, we want to do this, XYZ, that you can't go into the season starting DJ LeMahieu. You just can't do it. I'll pull the stats up. He was dreadful. Watching his at-bats were like pulling teeth. He was not the same defensive player. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and criticize the Yankee handling of DJ LeMahieu. Because when they signed him, we all knew this day was going to come. We didn't think it was going to be this quick, but we all knew this day was coming. But the upside was so high when we signed him, you take that risk. He was fantastic when the Yankees signed him. When the Yankees traded for him with Colorado, he was fantastic. All he was doing, he was like Rick Dees. The hits just kept on coming. He just hit and hit and hit, and was an on-base guy. He was your leadoff guy. He was the leadoff guy going into last season, and then he got hurt. Are the Yankees going to gamble and be like, well, he was hurt. Let's see if he's different. If he's not different, we'll figure out in spring. That could totally be the plan. But once again, you can't bank on that. You cannot just bank that he's going to be ready to go. Now, he very well could be. We also don't know the conversation they're having behind closed doors. They might have spoken to LeMahieu. It'd be like, do you think you'll be ready to go for spring? And if so, we'll hold off on something. And if he is ready to go in spring and he looks like the old DJ LeMahieu, lead him off. Hell, what's the worst that could happen? If he gets on, what's the worst that could happen? I wouldn't mind that because the defense, if he's gonna figure it out, you put him at third, he's gonna be better range at third base because of his age. The defense wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't awful. Then you're there. Then you're there. If he's hitting the way he was in the second half of 23, then you're there. But if he's going to be, old man LeMahieu, who's batting 204 with 7 extra base hits and 26 RBI and 19 walks in 67 games, then we got a problem because this can't happen. And Cabrera, not much better. Not much more of an upside. He also didn't get a fair shot, as he never does, because the Yankees have an awful handling of people with the name Oswaldo or Oswald. They don't know how to handle those players. But that's life. There's only 26 roster spots, and, there's only 26 roster spots at the end of the day. LeMahieu's getting older. Father Time's kind of catching up to him a bit. The decision needs to be made soon. I would like the Yankees to be proactive and go out there and get someone, maybe trade him, see if Colorado would be willing to bite. Maybe, you send him back to Colorado to finish out the remainder of his contract where he was brought up and he rides into the sunset. That'd be fantastic for the Yankees, and maybe you get McMahon back. Wink. I would love McMahon. I wanted him at the deadline last year, but Colorado doesn't want to give him, which is fine. I mean, that's their right. He's a very good player, and he'd be perfect for Yankee Stadium, but that's besides the point. But that's going to wrap it up because I've been rambling for 45 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up. My next pod will probably be next Tuesday. I was scheduling one for next Tuesday yesterday, and then Hot Stove was like, "We're doing it tomorrow." I'm like, I should probably reschedule. So I'll schedule one for Tuesday. Probably, 10 o'clock seems to work, so maybe I'll do it at this time again. So if you love the Yankees, please make sure to like, subscribe to YouTube, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I post pretty much everything that you see here on those platforms at all times. Facebook, I'm on there at Yankees Content Central. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you on the next stream. Have a great week.